So all of this started with a single clip. I was bedrotting, scrolling on Reddit, my personal doomscroll poison of choice, when I came across this clip of the current Smosh cast playing Mario Party. In it, their goal is to come last. First place is last place. The idea is to try and lose Mario Party. And in this clip, Angela sabotages Chance, causing him to win a minigame. They all start laughing, including myself. What began as one clip turned into a descent into the Smosh rabbit hole that has had ripple effects not just across my viewing habits, but in the way in which I pay for entertainment. So join me as we dissect this descent into the Smosh rabbit hole, and how over the course of like 9 months, I went from someone who was completely out of the loop to feeling right at home in Rancho Cucamonga. But before we begin, we have to go back, and I mean way back. Shut up! It's not like Smosh came out of nowhere for me. Growing up on the internet, I watched a lot of Smosh. I was a huge Smosh kid. I watched the main channel, I watched Smosh games. Some of my earliest memories of the internet are downloading Pokemon in real life on my iPod Touch so that I could watch it whenever I wanted. I could trace my origins as a creator, as a fan, as a consumer of YouTube to Smosh itself. It's for this reason that I'm still a member of the Smosh subreddit to this day, how this whole thing began. As a kid, my favorite YouTubers were Epic Rap Battles of History, Rhett and Link, Smosh, and He Who Shall Not Be Named. I loved their rap videos, I loved everything about them. I was a young man starved for entertainment.
What?
A man's gotta eat. I don't remember why or at what point I moved on from Smosh. The Defy era got a lot more high production value, and because I wasn't a big Smosh pit watcher, eventually the Smosh games cast drifted off as I myself got older and drifted to other cult of personality type gaming YouTube channels. But much like my sudden but inevitable adoption of dropout content, a different video for a very different day, I guess my recognition with Smosh is what brought me back into this world in the first place. This clip of Don't Win Mario Party was not the first Smosh thing I had seen since I watched it as a kid. Since I did know some of the cast, every now and again there would be resurgences or more moments that I would be recommended on YouTube or would see become memes online, and I would recognize them as a part of my youth. Oh, those are those Smosh guys, I used to watch them. And much like every other chronically online Gen Z, I was ecstatic to see Ian and Anthony buy Smosh again. YouTube had this weird hump where it became very corporatized for a second, and seeing the two people who kind of got me into this world reclaim their love for the medium was very inspiring. I ate up all of this nostalgia content, the flashback videos, the new sketches, but after about a month of this new flashback content, I started to feel like I wasn't engaging with it anymore. I was older now. I was different. My tastes were different.
You're more of like a comedy guy.
Yeah.
I realized that the Smosh of my youth is not the Smosh of today, and because I wasn't so familiar with the rest of the Smosh cast, I slowly drifted away from the content itself, and so I unsubscribed. But the seeds were sown. I was slowly telling YouTube that this is content that I'm interested in, and a year later, when Shane and Courtney announced their marriage, I dipped back into the Smosh content. Me, like everybody else, watched that Smosh Mount episode where they reveal everything. I also thought it wasn't real, mainly because I don't really know these people. Nobody really does. I had seen them out of context in sketches over the years, but Shane and Courtney were people I knew very much on the periphery. I was not a Smosh Pit fan, I was more of a Smosh Games fan, and so I don't really know the Smosh squad as much as I know the other members of the cast. But these two incidents were enough to remind YouTube that I do like Smosh content. I've spent the last 15 years building this YouTube algorithm, and it knows me better than I know myself sometimes. And so every now and again I would be recommended a video, a clip, a short segment from a games video or a pit video or a main channel video, enough to kind of grab my attention. In the same way that a 3-minute dropout clip now has me paying for a monthly subscription, all it took was a couple of clips to remind YouTube that I like this content, and for me to re-watch these clips a couple of times and remind YouTube that I am interested in him. In particular, Fred Darts.
Did somebody say meatloaf?
And of course, Angela's famous crash out video, which was sent to me on Instagram by someone I know for a fact has no idea what a Smosh is. So it's very interesting how much she just fully broke out of the YouTube algorithm. These two incidents were enough to make me go, oh wow, what are these guys doing? Smosh is actually in a really interesting spot. Their sketches, their scripted comedy stuff is not really much of my style anymore, but I could do nothing but admire what they had become. Especially in this age where we are seeing more and more independent comedy organizations coming up, Smosh is doing wonderful work, and while I was not engaging with it at the time, I had nothing but admiration for it. Smosh started to branch out of their YouTube bubble, appearing in some Dropout content, which is also how I became a little bit more familiar with the rest of the cast. They appeared on Gastronauts, on Dirty Laundry, and I watched these episodes as I would every other piece of Dropout media that came out, and through that started to understand who these Smosh people are. And so when I saw them in clips, I would go, oh yes, I know that person, I saw them in this. All of this history with the channel and the cast leads me back to this clip. To say that my descent into the Smoshverse came from a vacuum is disingenuous. In actuality, the way in which algorithms push our attention is not out of a vacuum. Instead, there is a rolling effect, as stuff is gradually introduced to us and we continually engage with it, a little bit at first, and then more and more and more until eventually it's all we consume. We're not fed content mindlessly like we're handed slop that we put into our mouths. There is an intentionality around what we watch, and choosing to engage with stuff on YouTube encourages the algorithm to feed you more of it. Do I wish there was more curation in what I'm watching? Absolutely. But of all of the social media platforms, I at least enjoy YouTube's ability to let me choose what to watch, not just to present me with something. But now we get back to the start of this journey. The intro complete, my mind set up, all of this history with Smosh established and priming me for the next piece of the puzzle. I of course begin by watching the entire video that this clip is from, a 1-hour Don't Win Mario Party, where the goal is to come fourth. Typically in Mario Party you want to get as many stars as many coins as possible, but Smosh games flip this to try and lose the game. You have to travel towards the star, but you're incentivized to lose mini games on purpose. Try your best to get rid of as many coins and as many stars as you can. This simple twist really works for me. There's something about it that's very engaging. I've watched other YouTubers play Mario Party before, so this format is familiar with me, but the way in which they do this creates a lot of hijinks and is especially good for the Smosh cast, who have such great chemistry that them playing with each other is an incredibly engaging watch. Over the next few weeks, I watch more and more of these Don't Win Mario Party videos. I'm familiar with the premise, now the only thing that changes is the cast, who I'm slowly introduced to in short bursts. Oh, hey, it's that darts guy. Doing this once again feeds the algorithm, the beast that rules our lives. And so more and more of these videos keep getting recommended to me. 20 years of a comedy YouTube channel has an incredible audience, and people have made tons of fan compilations and theories, and so eventually I start to get into this rabbit hole as well. So many of the Smosh viewing experience comes from watching clips and compilations created by fans. This recommendation cycle continues. I see a short of an Ultimate Werewolf clip, so I watch the Ultimate Werewolf video and then watch every Ultimate Werewolf video. Being out of the Smosh loop for as long as I was allowed me so much of a backlog to catch up on that there was just continuous new content to watch. Eventually I had seen clips from videos from 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I saw the introduction of cast members. I see the cast react to compilations of themselves. These fan compilations immediately introduce you to inside jokes, to references. I don't need to watch hours and hours of Smosh content to understand inside jokes. I see a video titled Angela losing the room for 10 minutes and I immediately understand her reputation. Watching this compilation then familiarizes myself with Angela's tendencies, so in a new video, when I see her flub a line, I understand, I go, oh hey, that's just an Angela moment. I get to know these people now. I do know who they are. I know their names. I recognize them in videos. I don't need to watch every Try Not to Laugh to know that as soon as Shane picks up a red phone, he's gonna go, hey Domino's, you're my favorite pizza place. As a big board game and video fan, as someone who watched the original Smosh games, obviously this channel was the one that I watched the most of. Watching the cast members that I'm now familiar with play board games, play Flip 7, a game that I now own. One clip. That's how this whole thing started, and now I'm deep in the rabbit hole watching so much Smosh content that almost every single day I'm seeing a new video. And not only did I learn the cast, but I also learned the crew. Smosh does an incredible job of involving the people behind the scenes in the videos as well. Stuff like Hide and Seek introduces you to a bunch of the behind the scenes crew, and as a creator, as someone who's also interested in how things work, being able to see the associate producers and the editors, and everyone that makes Smosh possible is really cool. They create this comedy rooted in friendship idea, and that extends into the content itself. It gets to a point where I'm watching a new video and I see a certain edit, and I go to the description to see who edited the video, because I think I know who it is, and I'm right. A few months into this Smosh rabbit hole, Smosh Summer Games 2005 gets announced, and I am incredibly excited. I now know who these people are. I want to see what they can do with the more money, with a bigger set. At this point, I was fully subscribed to both Smosh Pit and Smosh Games, and so I subbed to the main channel as well, expecting to see some of this Smosh Summer Games content on there too. I very quickly realized that there was no Smosh Summer Games content on the main channel, so I very quickly unsubscribed from it. However, at this point, I start watching the Smosh Cast, because I want to see also some more of this Smosh Summer Games content, a podcast that I now listen to every week. Smosh Summer Games is absolutely incredible. There are moments in it that are some of my favorite Smosh moments of all time, or in the 9 months that I've been watching Smosh. And so this fixed my routine. I am now fully subscribed to Smosh Pit, Smosh Games, Smosh Cast. I watch every single new video that releases, and every now and again I'll dip back into a Bit City episode as well. Smosh's scripted comedy is stuff that I'm still not super interested in. Bit City's format doesn't really work for me because I find that it's just a little bit too inconsistent for my style, but I really love what they do, and I'm glad that the memberships of the main channel video are able to fund a lot of the other stuff that goes on. I'm really excited to see what they do with their new studio as well that they're currently moving into. I can now call myself once again a Smosh fan. I continued to watch after Summer Games, watching their free videos on YouTube, and then they announced their live show, Smosh Hospital. I remember when Anthony's funeral was announced way back when Ian and Anthony bought Smosh for the first time, but I wasn't really watching their funerals and I was kind of disinterested. I thought it was going to be a free live event, and when I found out that I had to pay money for it, at the time I was like, I don't really know if it's worth it. But now Smosh Hospital is coming out, and I know who these people are. And not only that, but I can then go and watch Smosh the sitcom live, which comes with the ticket for Smosh Hospital. I can finally see the context of the clips that I've seen on YouTube. And so I purchase a ticket. Of course I do. I want to support these people now that I know who they are, now that I see the work that they've done, now that I am a fan. And I watched Smosh Hospital live. I live in Australia. It was midday when I watched it here, and yet I still woke up, put it on the TV, and watched the live show because I was interested in it, and it was awesome. It was even better than Smosh Summer Games because they were able to take that step further as well. Smosh has been able to make incredible content on YouTube, but they haven't needed to stretch outside of the bubble themselves. Smosh's origins as YouTubers work so well for the content they create now. The consistency and quality of what they're making is fantastic. I just wasn't really seeing any of it. I was an observer. I was somebody from the back lines. I wasn't watching the content because it wasn't being recommended to me until this clip. That's all it took. One 35-second clip has now made me pay for the ticket to a live show. I didn't need to act on this clip. I don't need to act on anything I watch, especially now that most of what we watch is short form. I can get a 1-minute dopamine boost of something I can then swipe away and never see again. What I saw in this was something that I saw having interesting long-term potential. Something I can sit down on the couch and watch for a long period of time, not something I could sit in my bed and scroll past. Smosh creates content that is engaging, it is interesting, and it is worthy of my time. And having now watched it, I know the people who create it. I know the people behind it, and I understand their intentions for making it. Without my intentionality to continue down this rabbit hole, to investigate the content, to see something I like and go, okay, well, what is this? Show me more of this. Reminding YouTube that I actually do want to see content like this has left me now with incredible content to watch. So thank you, Smosh, for still being there for me for 20 years. And while we've both changed a lot, and I've aged a fair bit, it's nice to know that I can still reconnect with an old friend.
To see bloopers from this video and more, click the link in the description below.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive into content stuff, I do kind of want to make a video about Dropout as well. I've been in that world for a fair bit longer, like 2 or 3 years now, but it started very similarly with me watching, I think it was either a Game Changer or an Actually clip. So if that's interesting to you and you want to see my descent into the Dropout rabbit hole, please leave a comment and like this video. Yes, be intentional with what you watch. I appreciate your time. Goodbye.